Good. Now we are learning Parshat Bal HaTurim. Which talks about the commandment of God to Moses to tell his brother Aaron to light the lamps and the candelabra, which was in the Holy Temple, which had 7 branches. As we learned in the Chassidut class in the morning, God spoke to Moshe to say over. What did he say? Daber el Aaron, speak to Aaron, and say to him like this: that when you light, Aaron, Moses is supposed to be saying to Aaron, when you light the lamps, the lamps. Now we had a picture of the lamps, right? You know how the lamps look. It was a kind of it stood on the ground, and it wasn't really that high. It was like 18 tefachim, 18 tefachim high, which that means about what do you say? 18 tefachim high is like 6 feet high, something like that. And there was stairs that went up on, something like that. So it says, El mul panei Menora, toward the middle stand of the menorah, the 7 candles should be lit. So let's see, maybe I can try to find a picture of this. I should have really found it beforehand, but let's see, try to find the picture here. Temunat ha-menorah. Be-mikdash. There's the famous one of the RambaN wrote. Not this. It had straight things now. They were not curved. Here, like this. Something like this. It stood on a stand. See, it stood like a stand. This is sort of their depiction of how it looks like. Let's see, look this. All right, I got a few pictures of here. Sort of like this one. See here, Aaron went up on the steps and he lit it. It was like about 6 feet high and it stood on this thing. And the candles that there were 7 branches, right? There was 3 on this side, 3 on this side, and 1 in the middle. This is called Panei Menora. The one in the middle. That was called Panei Menora. Can you see this, by the way? You should be able, yeah. It's Panei Menora. And these, can you see it over here? They slanted toward the middle. I don't know if we can get a good picture of this over here. I don't know if any of them even care to show you a good picture. This is the RambaN's picture. This is the picture of the Maimonides. What happened? What happened? Here. Maimonides picture. See, they're straight like this, but it doesn't show the tops. It doesn't show the top. And that's what Rashi also says the same thing. Anyway, these were supposed to be tilted in a little bit so that the light shined here. See here, if you look at this picture, even though this is around, but the wicks are like on the inside. See, you can see the wicks over there. Anyway, so what it means is that they're supposed to be tilted. Okay, they're supposed to be, the tops are supposed to be tilted toward the middle. That's what it means, Panei Menora. So let's go back and let's see what Rashi has to say. Here we go. Rashi Balotcha, Lama Nisvacha Parshat Menora to Parshat Nasiim, because when Aaron saw the Chanukas Mizbeach Cholsha Dato, he became very sort of depressed. Kishaloya Imayim B'Chanukah, there weren't Shalom. There was not the Chanukah. all the 12 tribes, they participated in giving these offerings to the inauguration, the first 12 days of the tabernacle, and he didn't, Velo Shifto, and not Aaron's tribe wasn't there. So why not? So it says, Omer lo Kodesh Baruch Hu, God said to Aaron, Chayecha, I swear. Okay, Shalcha Gadol Mishalhem. What you're going to do is bigger than this. Is bigger. What you're going to do now is going to be bigger from then. What Adam Madlikat and Metivet and arrows. You're going to light the candles, and we're going to see there's a big RambaN over here, and he says, why is that better? Why is that better? He'll see. Nice questions he has. Gives a better answer. Ba'alotcha. What does it mean, Ba'alotcha? When you lift up, when you raise up the candles. Al-Shem Shahalahav Ola. Because the flame goes up. That's the way fire goes, right? Because like it says, Badlakasam Lashon Aliyah. So it's another way of saying light them, light up. Shetzorich lahadlik ad shetei ashalevetz ola mi'aleh. In other words, you have to keep the match to the fire until you're sure that the fire is going to go up on its own. Don't keep touching it and bring it back and bring it back. It has to stay there until you're sure 100% that the whole entire wick lights up. For Od Darsho, also rabbis say that the Ba'alotcha, that there was a ladder, like we saw that steps that went up in front of the menorah, that the Kohen would go up on it, and he would prepare Ba'alotcha. So that means he would go up. Let's see, we got the picture. Let's go back to our picture. Here we have, here it sort of shows the coin over there. Anyway, we saw it before. These artists are pretty wild over here. They have these wild ideas. You figure they would look in the Bible or something before they started making these pictures. Okay, here we go. So it doesn't say. Anyway, there were steps. There were steps here that went up. We saw here. See steps. Steps. There were steps that went up the menorah. But according to all opinions, there is no opinion in all of Judaism anywhere that says that they were round. No opinion anywhere. The same thing is also with the Lubavitcher Rebbe brought this out, and he really stressed it. And the same thing with the tablets. The tablets is even worse. The tablets is even worse, because there are some opinions that say that it weren't straight. There's the Eben Ezra and some that say they have this idea that they went around or something like that. But the tablets, absolutely no opinion anywhere in Judaism that says anywhere that the tablets were anything other than square. According to all opinions, everywhere the tablets were square. The only reason they got the round one was from Michelangelo or something. Who knows? Well, I guess today Michelangelo might be a valid Jewish opinion also. I mean, there's people less. This is the way it looked. See, straight like this, and then there was Ba'alotcha, means that you would go up on this sort of they say stand. See the stand over here. You would go Ba'alotcha. Okay, that's another opinion. Rashi says it means that they went up. Aliyah. The Kohen would go on it and he would fix up the lights and light them. Al mul panei menorah, el mul ner and say you have to light it so that the lights would be pointing, the tops of the cups would be pointing toward the middle. She'enu bekanim ela beguf shel menorah, that the central pillar was not a separate branch that went out. That was the central stem, that all the other 6 stems went out from it. Yeru shivas and eros, that the 7 lights would, and 6 on the 6 lights on the 6 branches, and 3 on the east and 3 on the west. Shlosha am mizrachim ponim lamul emtsai parachim. Okay, now the RambaN also has a very interesting. He has it different than everybody else. The Kain Shlosha ma'arivim, and also the 6 on the 3 on the west. No, I'm sorry. The 3 on the west, they also would pointing toward the middle. Okay, I'm sorry. I take that back what I said. By the way, there's another thing I take back, and I made a mistake. And I just realized I made a mistake. When they were traveling in the desert, so they had 6 wagons to carry the parts of the tabernacle that they were carrying. And somehow or other, what are we going to do? I said that every tribe got 2 wagons. There's 3 of every family. There were 3 families of Kohanim. There were 6 wagons. So I made the simple calculation that if there's 6 wagons and 3 families, everybody gets 2, which is a good calculation. The only problem is that it says clearly in the Torah that it's not so. I don't know why. And what can you have days in this? The Kahat, the tribe of Kahat, did not get in the family of Kahat. They did not get any wagons. They carried all these things on their shoulders, on the shoulder. And Gershon, they got 2 wagons, and the tribe of Merari that they carried the boards that made up, which were tremendously heavy, they got 4 wagons. That's what it says. It's a clear sentence, clearly. Okay, that was for last week's. Never too late to fix things up, I hope. I don't think anything bad came out of that, but all right. Says that's the Rashi. What Rashi says. Let's look at here's an interesting Bal HaTurim. Bal HaTurim. We're going to do the RambaN. Bal HaTurim. Balotcha. This is Balotcha. This comes right after the inauguration of the tabernacle. Remember, this was last week in Parshas Nasa. We had the 12 different tribes. The head of each tribe every day brought the exact same offerings. Remember, we went through that. Says why? The Pirsumi Nisa Menora, because the candles were unlike the other sacrifices in that they shined out. Shined out. Balotcha et nerot. The gematria. This is the balotcha et. This is the gematria. Bal HaTurim was very good at this. Gematria is es aseh ba malot. You should make steps to go up to it. Balotcha means go up on the steps. So these are the steps that we're referring to. El mul penei Menora ye'iru ki ani eini tzarich le'ora. They should shine to the middle to show that the candelabra did not shine physical light. Did not shine physical light. It was testimony, it says, to the whole world that God was there, because the light, the Western light, would remain lit the whole day or whatever. The lights were the candles were lit like the last thing, almost the last thing in the service of the day, and they would remain lit all the whole entire night. And in the morning, they would come and fix them up so that it would be ready to light the next night. But there was one of the candles that remained lit, so it was a big miracle, and that to show that God is with them. Peneim Ohr HaChiam. This is the Penei HaMenora Ye'iru. This is the gematria ki ani. Ki v'chi ani le'ora orcha tzorich, and do I need your light? Shivat and Nerot 7. This corresponds to the 7 mazalot, the 7 planets. Corresponds to the 7 planets, which are what is it? Chama, Noga, Kochav, Levana, Shabbatai, Tzedek, and Madim, which corresponds to the 7. Now this is going according to the idea that the stars go around the earth, and the earth is still. So it says the sun, what do we call it? Mercury, Noga. Noga is Venus. Kochav is Mercury, I think. Levana is the moon. Shabbatai is Saturn. Tzedek is Jupiter, and Madim is Mars. Kativ, it says Balotcha et Nerot. Kativ, it says Lahalotcha Ner Tamid. Lebeit Hillel Ner. What does it mean? It says sometimes, once it says you should light the candles, and then it says you should light one candle constantly. According to Beit Hillel, this is the lights of Hanukkah, you light one, and then afterwards you light a lot. You add on. According to Beit Hillel, the first night of Hanukkah, you do like we do. We light one candle, and then every night you light more. And the light of the Beit HaMikdash, this is hinted at by the lights of Hanukkah that we light. We're going to see that from the RambaN. But Yomaylim Kodesh, that's what they say. It's in the Gemara in Shabbos, the whole explanation of what exactly happened in my Hanukkah. And according to Beit Shammai, though, you start off with Nerot, you start off with 8, and then every night you get less and less. Because like the axes of the Sukkot, that every day they get less and less. They start off with 13. Ha'ala ner tamid. This is the sof tevet lahalot lahal. What is this? Lahaalot. Oh, see, alot ner tamid. Alot ner tamid. This is the last letter. Sof tevet terod lahaalot taf reish dalet tered. In other words, you should light the candles and then go down. Okay, let's go. Let's do the RambaN. This is what I wanted to get to. Beautiful RambaN over here. RambaN says the RambaN. The RambaN quotes Rashi. Menora. Why is the whole section that talks about lighting the candles? Why does this come after the offerings of the 12 tribes that we learned last week? Right. Because Aaron, this is quoting Rashi, right? When Aaron saw that all the other heads of the tribes were making offerings, so he became very sort of depressed. Why he didn't give out the offerings? Not Aaron and not the Levites. So God said, don't worry, I swear, that you're going to do something even greater than them. You are going to light the candles, the lamps, and you're going to light and prepare the lamps in the morning and in the evening. So what Rashi says, the Midrash Agada, says the RambaN, I don't understand what he's talking about. What is Rashi talking about? What does that mean? That he felt bad, so he gave him the lamps. How is that better? Lama nechamu. Why did that comfort him? That Aaron wanted to make offerings. What are you telling me? Light a candle instead of making an offering. He wanted to make offerings. Why didn't you say, listen, Aaron, you're going to light the incense, huh? Incense morning and evening. That's something that nobody else did. That it says it says that the tribe of Levi was praised that they offered up the incense. We'll call it korbanos. What about all the other? There's a lot of other sacrifices and all the other minchas, chavitin, and there's bread offerings. Kippurim. That's not kosher. Only the Kohen. The Kohen did all these other things. That's the only thing the company say. Don't worry about it. You're going to make all the sacrifices the whole year, right? You're going to be doing the sacrifices the whole rest of the year. You're going to do all the work of Yom Kippur. You're going to bring the ketoret. Why only the candles that comforted him? In Yom Kippur, you're going to go in the inner of Holy of Holies. This is the Holy of. You're going to be standing there and blessing. You have the blessings of the Kohanim. Eh? We learned last week the blessing of the Kohanim. Those things don't comfort Aaron. He had all those other things to. What did comfort him? Only the he's going to light the candles, the lamps. Oh, matam lachalisha stuff. Why did Aaron become so depressed? Hello, korban gadol mishal nasil. Aaron had more sacrifices than anybody else. Exactly the opposite. All the sacrifices that all of these 12 tribes brought, he was the one that offered them up. A regular person can't do it. The Kohanim did all the sacrifices. He made all the days of the Miluim. He did all the sacrifices. Maybe you want to say Shahayu Chovav and Nistavim. Maybe you want to say that no, well, Aaron, he had to do it. It wasn't a free will offering. It's therefore Chol Shel Dato because he didn't give a free will offering, a present, like they did. Chanukah the Mizbeach. And it says if so, how did was comforting? So God said, "Oh, I'm going to comfort you. You can have the lamps, but the lamps is also not a free will offering. This was also commanded to do. Hanero Chenechamu Bo Chovim Nitztavu. He was also commanded to do that. If so, the whole thing doesn't make any sense, says the RambaN. How is it that Aaron felt bad? First of all, why did he feel bad? He was making all the sacrifices. All the sacrifices were only done by him. Because he didn't bring the sacrifice, it wasn't a free will offering, right? It wasn't a free will offering. Well, lighting the candles is also not a free will offering. And not only that, why specifically the candles? That was what comforted him. What about all the other things that Aaron does? He offers up the incense of all, but it's like this. The Doresh Remez in a Parsha, Al Chanukah Shal Nerot Shahoyu B'Bayit Sheni Al Yedei Aaron B'Banav. This is hinting at the lights, the candles, which were lit in the second temple by Aaron and Banav. What does it mean, Aaron Banav? Aaron and his sons, they died a long time ago. Right? Aaron and his sons, right? They died before the Jews went into the land of Israel. They died 440 years before the first temple was built. What do you mean, the Chashmonaim? The Chashmonaim and the Kohen Gadol and his sons, they lit in the second temple as well. There's a Megillah, a hidden Megillah from Rabbeinu Nisim. He says, she is Kira, Agada Azuz, and he says, Re'iti b'midrash, I saw in the midrash, Kevan Shikriv Shnayim Asher Shvatim, since the 12 tribes offered and Levi didn't offer, Omer lo Kodesh Baruch Hu, God said to Moshe, speak to Aaron, say to him, Yesh Chanukah Acheret, there's going to be another Chanukah Tamizbeach, Sheish Bo Hadlakat Nerot, and I'm going to give it to the Jewish people by means of big miracles. That's going to be when Chanukah, the holiday of Chanukah. Shekroim al Shemam, that'll be called on them. This is going to be the holiday of Chanukah that's going to be in the middle of the second temple. In other words, what does it mean? That Aaron, I'm going to give you something that's going to be eternal. All the sacrifices are going to stop for a few thousand years. But yours is going to continue all the time. The Jewish people are going to light the lights of Hanukkah all the time of exile. Also, I saw in another book called Yolam Denu, and also Midrab, Omer Kodesh Baruch Hu Moshe, God said to Moses, Kach lomer leMoshe, Lech, say to Moshe, Al titira, don't be afraid. L'gedola mizot atal muchan. I'm preparing you for something even bigger. The korbanot, the sacrifices all the time, the base of Migdash, there's sacrifices. Avol nerot la'olam, but the nerot, and la'olam forever. El mul panei Menora ya'iru, they'll always shine. And that's the holiday of Chanukah. The call of brachos, all the blessings that I gave you to bless the Jewish people, they also won't stop. So it's a known thing. So I'm giving you two things. First of all, the blessings of the Kohanim, and in addition to that, I'm giving you also the holiday of Chanukah will come by me. Because ain't Beit HaMikdash, there's no Beit HaMikdash Kayim, and the Kabbanis are not there anymore because of destruction. Nevertheless, the Nerot, you might say maybe there's no more candles. Of a low Ramzu el Nerot Chanukah Chashmanei. That's what he's hinting at. He's hinting at the Nerot of Chanukah that we light now. Shehi noheget af la'achar chorban. This is done even now in the time of our exile. There came Birchas Kohanim and also the blessings of the Kohanim, which was in the previous Torah portion we learned. That's also forever. Dorshu smuchim lechanukas hanesim milfaneo milachareh. Therefore, the Kohanim were given a present before the 12 tribes offered theirs, and after. Before was the Birkat Kohanim that they do now, and also Chanukah. The Chanukah the Mizbeach, everybody does. The Chanukah, I'm sorry, of the holiday of Chanukah. Very nice. There's a lot of other beautiful explanations over here, and beautiful ideas. Also, the Kli Yakar. There's some beautiful ideas, but let's just do a few because we do have a limited amount of time. Okay, here we go. Vayasken Aaron. So God commanded Aaron, light the menorah, the lamps, and they should shine in the face. Vayasken Aaron al mu panei menorah, helen erosel kasher tzivo Hashem es Moshe. And Aaron did so, and he lit them like God commanded Moshe. Here we have a Rashi. Lahagid shivcho shel Aaron. This tells the praises of Aaron, Shalosh Shina, he didn't change. Now, why would you think Aaron would change? But in any case, he did exactly what he was supposed to do, and he didn't change. Of course, others are going to speak about this. We're going to have the RambaN and etc. are going to speak. What do you mean he didn't change? So, of course, he didn't change. Aaron was a faithful servant. What's going on over here? Lomer Shashiyu Shoya Madlikotam, that he lit them all the time. What do you mean he didn't change? God told him to light, so he was the one that lit it, even though that his sons could have done it. Like it says, later on it says, earlier it says, when it was talking about making the, in Parshas Kitavo, Parshas Ki, Tetzaveh, when it talks about Tetzaveh, so it talks about that Truma. I'm sorry, Parshas Truma. It talks about over there that Aaron and his sons will light up the candles. But he did this tremendous mitzvah. He did it on his own. Romez ledavar elyon and v'sod, and a tremendously deep secret. Give me 1 second. I just want to look at something over here. I should have looked this up before. Yes, that's right. Parshas Truma. Yes. It's a tremendously deep secret, and maybe it's hinted at in this pasuk michutz laparochas ha'idus yarochos so Aaron the erev ad boker ki bo b'char Hashem, because God chose Aaron to light this up. And this secret that we're talking about here, the deep secret, that's what we're learning in the morning in the Chassidut class. What exactly was the lighting of the menorah? How this enabled Aaron to draw down this tremendous blessing to the Jewish people, to arouse their hearts. Okay, from in the morning, because of this, it says now Daber el Aaron ba'alotcha. That's why it says speak to Aaron, and it doesn't say speak to Aaron and his sons. Ba'alotchem, because this is the secret of the lighting of the candles by means of Aaron, that he was the Kohen Gadol. Here's the Ohr HaChiam. Ohr HaChiam says, Vayas Ken Kasher Tziva. What does it mean? To let Aaron, the praises of Aaron. Ki Masha Asa Aaron lo asalatzad malat v'kavod, that Aaron did the commandment not because of his greatness or because of the honor that God gave to him, but he did only to do the commandment of God. That's what he means. Vayas Kasher Tziva Hashem. That Aaron lit the candles the same way that he would do any other commandment, putting on tefillin or whatever, right? So every Jew puts on tefillin; it's no big deal, huh? Putting on tefillin, of course, it's a commandment of God; it connects you to God. But no one else could light the lamps except for him. So Aaron might have thought, "Listen, I am doing because I am the greatest," and he was the greatest of Israel. He says, "No, that wasn't to praise him, that the only reason he did the commandment was because it was the commandment of God. Nothing greater than that." Like it says, like King David said, all I wanted to do was just what you asked, God. That's all. King David was the king. Nevertheless, my happiness is just to do what you want. This is a lesson to us also, that's what the praise is that Aaron is saying. That Aaron shalosh shina, he didn't change because of his greatness. You think because he was greatness, he would maybe put some special emphasis on this one more than others. No, all the commandments he put a special emphasis on. He did all the commandments the same way. Daled. This is the menorah. Miksha zav. It was one piece of gold from its Yurecha and Pircha. Now, there's different opinions what Yurecha and Pircha is. Some say Yurecha is the bottom, and some people say the Pircha is the top. And there's the whole thing from the beginning to the low. Here, Rashi says the Yurecha, that's the big things, and Pircha, those are the fine things. Like I showed you on the mountain, Katavnis, it says that God said, Ra'eva aseh b'tavnito, that God showed him, the menorah, how it should be made. Cain asa, Pirish, what is this asta? Midrash Agada says that God made it. Kasher Cain asa at the menorah. And the menorah was made. Aaron had said he brought the gold, whatever, and the menorah was, God showed it how to do it, and the menorah came out on his own because it had to be one piece. He had to hit it, one big piece of gold, so that it came out one unit. He didn't like make one thing and stick the other stems on it. He made the central thing to stick this in. Bal HaTurim, here's something interesting. It says, V'zeh maseh menorah. This is what the menorah, Zeh is the gematria 18, to show that the height of the menorah was 18 tefachim. 18 tefachim. Supposing that a tefach is like about 4 inches or something like that. How big is a tefach? 3 inches? 3 inches, maybe. Okay. So that's like 6 feet high, something. Kamare, like the gematria. Kamar is the gematria of Gavriel, to show you that Gavriel, he was the one that made the menorah. Cain saw this is what he did. Cain Neros. There were altogether 70 lamps. Where's the 70? There's only 7 lamps. What's 70 lamps? Shlomo made 10 menorahs. That's Asa. That's the gematria. The word Asa is the same gematria as Shlomo, King Solomon. Cain Asa. So it says Cain, 70 lamps Asa, King Solomon made. Interesting. Bal HaTurim, these are interesting little gematrias. Crazy. It's amazing genius that he had. Just the holy genius that he just looked at. They say, this is what I heard, that he wrote his whole, the Bal HaTurim, he wrote this whole explanation one night. That's what I heard. But somebody said he couldn't do it. He said, all right, Daled Zion. Let's just do this quickly. Let's see how quickly we can do this. All right, that's how we made the menorah. That talks about the menorah. Here we go. Next section. It says, God spoke to Moshe, and he said, take the Levites and purify them. This is what you should do in order to purify them. You have to sprinkle on them the water from the red cow called Meid Chatat. And then you have to put a razor on all of their flesh and clean their garments, and they should be pure. So they had to take off all the hair from all their body, shave off their body. It says, Evirutar, Matzati, I found with the words of Rabbi Moshe Darshan. Why in the world to do that? Because they needed the Levites, they took the place of the firstborn. Now the firstborn participated in the golden calf, and the Levites did not. So the Levites, God said, I don't want the firstborn anymore. They're not going to be my priests. The firstborn are going to be the Levites. Now the Levites now are atoning for the firstborn. And why? Because the firstborn, they worshiped the Bechorot. They worshipped the golden calf. So the golden calf is called Zivche Meitim. And a Metzora, a person that has Tzorat, remember we talked about that before when we learned in Parshas Metzora, Tazria Metzora, is called a dead person. And part of the Metzora, before he becomes pure, he has to shave his whole body. So therefore, they shave their body like they were Metzora, and then they sprinkled on them this. Strange. Okay, that's what they had to do. Parba and Bakor, they had to make all these sacrifices, and the Levim, you have to bring the sacrifices to the Levim. The Israelites, they put their hands on the Levim, and Aaron lifted them up. He lifted each and every one of them up in front of God, and in order to serve the service of God. So it says, first of all, they lifted up Bnei Kahat. Then after that, it says he was Kodesh Kodashim, Holy of Holies. And then after that, lifted up Gershon. And then after that, they lifted up the third one is Merari. So that's what it says. Henif Aaron as to Nufa Lifnei Hashem. Right? Here it says, Hikravtam. The Chaper al Levim. Okay, so it says they have to lift them up 3 times. Henif Aaron at the living Tenufa Lifnei Hashem. Where's the third time? Tenufa Shlosh Tenufot Nermar Parsha Zu Harishonas Kahat. Where does it say 3 times? It must have said before. Here it says Hinafta Otam. Levim Yismechu Es Yedehem. Vehinafta. Here it is. Vehinafta Otam Tenufa. There it is. You have to lift them up again. Okay, and the Levites belong to me. And afterwards, the Levites come and they serve in the Ohel Moed, and they become. And this is the Hinafta. This is the third time. I'm sorry, not when it says Tenufa. Not when it says Tenufa. Here, Vehinafta. That was 1. There was 2, and then the first one over Vehinif. That's it. So Hinif is 1. That's for the tribe of Kahat. Then afterwards it says Behenif. It says again Behenafta Otam. That's the second time. That's for Gershon. And then it says Behenafta Otam. There's third time. That's the tribe of Merari. Okay, because they are devoted to me. Because all the firstborn of the Jewish people and the animals were the etc. and etc. They were for me, but I'll take the Levim instead of the Bachor of the Jewish people. That's what it says. Okay, now we're getting to something. Let's just begin this. Okay, after you've inaugurated the Levites and you sprinkled on them water on the 3rd and the 7th day, and you offered up all these offerings and you shaved all their hair and you lifted them up, right? Lifted them up. Now they can serve me in the holy temple. That's the Levites are now mine forever. Like God said, this is what he did to the Levites. Okay. This is what you should do to the Levites. From 25 years old, they go to serve God in the Ohel Moed, and 50 years old, then they go back. They don't serve anymore. 25, right? Now, if you remember, we learned before, it was from 30. What's going on over here? We said they're supposed to serve from 30 years old, not 25 years old. So let's see. Here it says, Rashi. Shanim pasul lehem. It says that years disqualify them. But a Levite, if he has any of the blemishes that a Kohen has, right? That something's wrong with his fingers, something's wrong with his. They had all these listed, these things that were wrong with a Kohen. Is the forehead is too low, it's too high. That disqualifies. It doesn't disqualify a Levite. The only thing that disqualifies a Levite is years. From when he works in the temple, from 25 years up and 25 to 50. It says Rashi, but Mokom Acher, it says from 30 years up. If so, from 25 years up, he comes to learn the work. And 25 years old. When does he actually start to work? When he's 30. He learns for 5 years. And when he's 30, and it's from 30 to 50, that's when he actually learns. From here, we learned that a Talmid, a pupil that tries to learn for 5 years and he doesn't see any success, Sheshuv ein ura, he won't see any success anymore. A person that tries to learn something 5 years in a row, right, you're not going to learn, you won't succeed in learning. There's stories, of course, that are differences that Rabbi Akiva, he tried for whatever it is, for years and years, he tried to learn it, nothing went into his head until he saw water dripping on a rock and he made a hole. He said, if that water can make a hole in a rock, which is so hard, as a hard thing like the Torah, which is so powerful, it can certainly make a hole in my brain. And so he sat and learned and became very good. Okay, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, that's an exception. And then here we go. Then this we're going to talk about tomorrow. God spoke to Moshe Midbar Sinai on the second year they came up from Eretz Yisrael, and he said, the Jewish people should make the Pesach in its time, all the time, even on Shabbat, even on the holidays. On the 14th day, the Jews should make the Pesach, and according to all the laws, they should make it. If I Yadaber Hashem Moshe Lemor, and the Jews made the Pesach. Says Rashi, what's it telling us to make the Pesach? It already said that they made the Pesach. These are the holidays. Elowat Keshishama Parsha, when he heard this on Sinai, he said to them, Chazav Yisiru, when they come to actually do it, then you should warn them. And the Jewish people made the Pesach on the first day of the 14th of the month, between the evening of this, the first year they came out. Now we're going to learn that this is the only time they actually made the Pesach. The third, they made it, of course, in Egypt, and then they got out, and then the first year around, the first anniversary, they made it again, and after that, they didn't make it the whole time they were in the desert, until they came to the land of Israel. And now we're going to also have the law of the Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni. This is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. And it said here, Vayu Anashim, there were people, they were Tameim Lenefesh. They were impure. There's a question about who these people were. We'll see. They couldn't make the Pesach on that day. Now, Passover is a very important sacrifice. We can say the most important sacrifice in Judaism is the Pesach offering. It's the only positive commandment that there's a punishment of death. Positive commandment. Koret, death from heaven, if you don't bring it on purpose. It says, the Pesach HaYomu, V'yikravu Lifnei Hashem, but there were people that didn't make it. They couldn't make it. They were impure. They couldn't come. They wanted to make this first Passover they made in the desert, and they couldn't come. They were impure. So they came in front of Moshe and they said, what are we going to do? We can't make it. V'yomer, they said, that we're impure. Why should we be any less than anybody else? Why can't we make the sacrifice of God? It's not our fault. We became impure. What did they become impure from? Right? It says there's different opinions about what they were impure from. Some people say that they were from the, okay, we'll talk about that next time. So Moshe says, you know what to do? Moshe says, wait right here. I'm going to talk to God and see what God has to say. And if they wouldn't have come and demanded, they wouldn't have known what to do. And Moshe wouldn't have known what to do. So he said, I'm going to go and ask God. This was a commandment that seemingly wasn't given in Mount Sinai. Of course, everything was given in Mount Sinai, but this must have been given in a concealed way that Moses didn't know. So God said, a person that's impure, what he should do, if he's far away, then he should make on the second month, in other words, next month, on the 15th, the month of Iyar, they can make a Pesach and they eat it. As we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. But the lesson from this is, it's never too late. If you missed something, even if you missed it purposely, it's never too late to make reparation, or to do a mitzvah, to do a good thing, or to stop doing something bad. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Thank you very much. God bless you. Hope to see you tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning with Mashiach Now.